Hey everybody, it's David Kemp. I'm the host of Highway to Health podcast series. Thank you for being with us today. We have a special episode. We are on the grounds of the Houston Livestock Show in Rodeo. It's the largest indoor rodeo in the world. And it's kind of a cool intersection of three passions of mine: healthcare, Texas, and athletics. And if you've paid attention to the show, you know that we love to bring on guests that have a passion about improving patient access, patient experience, and of course the patient outcomes of our community. And that's why I'm really excited to have Dr. Kelly Larkin, who is the founder of the Sports Medicine Committee here at the Houston Rodeo. If you're unfamiliar with the Houston Rodeo, hopefully we do an adequate job of describing the magnitude of this event and the awesome service it provides for the Houston community, the entire Texas community, and even reaching further than that. Dr. Kelly Larkin, welcome to Highway to Health.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. It's an honor. And, I've been in Texas almost my whole life. Got here in '94. My dad was military, so we moved around quite a bit. But I didn't have any clue how big, how important the Houston Rodeo was until I was introduced to the Houston Rodeo by a family member of mine about 20 years ago. And I'd like, throughout this conversation, to hear from you some anecdotes, some stories about how important it is to this community, but also how important it is to the volunteers and the passion that they bring to the event. So we'll get into that in a minute. I'd love to hear a little bit about your background. It's kind of a tradition of mine. I usually ask my executives about their healthy habits, things that they've built into their personal lives. As busy as you are, what have you done to stay healthy mentally and physically so that you can be a top performer?
It's a great question out here because I've been working on keeping everybody healthy out here for quite a few years. And even before COVID, I had tips that I sent out to everyone out here, all the people that are working 20 days in a row that are here, hour after hour, and getting exposed to all kinds of people and all kinds of things. And, they call it rodeo cred. And a lot of people get out here, they just get tired, they get run down. And so I've been really working on trying to promote health out here. And so I have a bit of a regimen. A lot of it is, of course, drinking water and being healthy there. But a lot of it is just good vitamins and good eating habits. And, of course, washing your hands. And because we do spend a lot of time hugging all of our counterparts out here and in small, close spaces or, in an area of the rodeo around a lot of people. So a lot of it is just, being, again, washing your hands really well. And then in between, when you're not here, is just to try to get some rest. You can't burn the candle at both ends. We all know that. So I always tell them, try to take a little break every once in a while, get some good sleep. And then my year round is to get some walking in. I think walking and water are the two W's that I think are a big promotion to long-term good health.
It's things, and I've done a lot of these, and a lot of the answers are things that we all know, but it's hard to implement. It's hard to stay disciplined in our approach to maintaining our health. And it's usually because we put others first, and we put ourselves behind the priorities of others, whether it's your family or 125,000 patrons that may be on the fairgrounds. So I like your approach because it's obtainable. It's not something, you don't have to get up at 4 a.m. and go run 3 miles to stay healthy. It's the things that we were taught when we were younger, about getting to sleep, washing your hands, drinking enough water. And if you stay disciplined doing that, it pays off in the long run.
It sure does, and it helps you get through 20 days of rodeo.
We're going to get to that in a minute. The magnitude of this event is incredible. It's like putting a Super Bowl on for 20 days straight. And I don't know how you do it. I've been a small part of it for the last, nearly 20 years now. It's incredible what you guys do.
It's an incredible event, that's for sure. And the magnitude is there, and you're right. It's literally those 20 days of, Super Bowls all in a row.
That's incredible. So I've been in healthcare the last 10 or 11 years. You've been in healthcare a long time. I heard how you knew you wanted to be in healthcare at about 12 years old. So it's been a lifelong passion of yours. Those stories are always interesting to me, but what I really enjoy is learning why you've stayed in it, because it's not easy. So what has kept you in healthcare for so long? What about it has got you hooked?
That's a funny question. The best part of that is I never even thought of really doing anything outside of healthcare. I did expand from just clinical practice into doing other parts of healthcare in emergency medicine, but I never thought of doing really anything else besides that. I love my patients and I love the colleagues that I work with, and I'm very blessed that I have a career that gives me some flexibility to raise a family as well. So my kids are now in college and graduating college, but during all those years while I was working, I was able to manage all those things together. So it was a win for me and a win for my family.
Provides a good balance.
Balance is very important.
Some of the things that you hear in the news about, how hard it is to hire, how hard it is to retain top talent. When they do these surveys now, one of the biggest responses is, well, I'm looking for something meaningful. I'm looking for something with a bigger purpose. And there's people out there searching for that kind of connection and that kind of alignment with their morals, their values, and their calling. That's almost inherent in healthcare, because what you do every day is making a real impact in people's lives.
That's true. That's true. And the thing about healthcare, as you already know, is there's all the different versions of it. Like I do emergency medicine and that's my passion. I don't know that I have the same passion for another field of medicine. So,
sure.
And that's the beauty of it. And that's why it affects so many people in so many different lives.
You're right. There's so many different, I'm not clinical in nature by any means, but you're still aligned with that overall purpose. And so it's kind of a PSA to anybody that's listening and watching. Look into healthcare. We could use you, and you might really enjoy it.
We could definitely use you, and it's never too late to start a career in healthcare. I had friends in medical school. I was in my 20s, and I had friends that were in their late 40s that were actually going off at that point. And nursing school or tech or anything. Yeah, all those opportunities are out there, and we'd love to have you.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%. Tell us about the rodeo. You weren't 12 when you got interested in the rodeo, I bet. How'd you get involved here?
So I got exposed to the rodeo. I moved to Houston for my residency in emergency medicine. And so I didn't really know anything about rodeo. And I lived pretty close. But my job at the time was a resident in emergency medicine. So I was training in the medical center. And the Texas Medical Center is right down the road from where we are sitting here right now. And what I found was I would be working on an evening, and all of a sudden the paramedics brought in this cowboy who had been injured in a bull ride or some other rodeo event, and I would take care of them. So as you're putting stitches in their head or talking to them or examining, you get to talk to them. And I started learning a little bit about rodeo, and it was amazing to me what these athletes do and their passion and what their families have done for years and what they brought. So I got to see it that way as a provider. That was my first exposure. But then the paramedics that would bring me patients on a regular basis, including the cowboys, invited me to come out and actually see the rodeo. So my first experience was in the Astrodome, and my first exposure to the Astrodome and to the rodeo was actually on the floor, in the dirt, down in the bottom where the cowboys were. So coming into the rodeo your very first time in that incredible building, and to be in that setting where the bulls are right near us, you're hooked from moment one.
You're exactly right. And I talked about this at the beginning. Been in Texas almost my whole life. Had no idea how awesome of a place this is. All that goes into it, the high level athletes that compete in a very dangerous sport, and and it's here for 20 days in the spring. And tell us a little bit about, I want to give everybody just a feeling, at least a description of how big of a production this is. So it's a year-round job for most of the volunteers, but you mentioned 125,000 patrons daily Is that right? On average?
Yeah, so you can have 100 to 125,000 on grounds each day out here, yes.
And your team and other teams are responsible for providing not only a great experience, a ton of fun, but safety, healthcare services when necessary.
That's right. So when you talk about the magnitude of it, so we have 35,000 volunteers that come out here to run the show. And of those 35,000 volunteers, there's 110 committees. Of those 110, there are 3 committees that I've been involved with that are related to healthcare. And so very quickly, we have a health committee. And the health committee is here to provide care for our exhibitors. So we have youth that come out here that show their animals that they have raised all year long to hopefully bring to auction to then get scholarship money. And so those kids come here, their families come here from all over the state. From far away, they may get sick or they may have an injury. So we have a health committee that is focused on taking care of those kids, those exhibitors, and their families. And they have set up kind of like small clinics around the grounds, and so that it's good access depending on where you happen to be on the grounds, because it's a big park. We're in Reliance Park. It's a big area. So health committee does that. The next is our medical and safety committee, which has 1,000 volunteers, and that they're on the grounds. And so when you're out here and you're walking around, or you're going to the carnival, or you're walking around and going to the wine garden, or just out here shopping, that's where we get all the people on grounds. Our stadium holds around 65, 70,000 people, but we still have people that just come out here for the livestock show and for the shopping and for all the other entertainment. People get out here and they get sick, or they have an injury, or any kind of illness. And so that committee is on the ground. They're roaming around. They're carrying the backpacks. We have little mini ambulances all around. We have real ambulances on site as well, just to be there to ensure. Because if you think of a town, a city of 100,000 or 125,000, that's a big place. That's not a small town. And so we're the first responders for that. So these guys in real life do this obviously professionally, but then they come out here and volunteer and provide those same types of services out here for our little city that we have each day.
It's bigger than the city that I live in. 125,000 is bigger than Brock, Texas. So
it's a lot bigger than the city I grew up in, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And then the committee, the third, is the one that you mentioned earlier, the Rodeo Houston Sports Medicine Committee. And that committee is focused on our rodeo athletes. And they are incredible athletes. They are professional athletes, just like we think of with football and baseball and basketball. And they tour. And so our committee, the Sports Medicine Committee, is there to take care of these athletes. But what's really different than a lot of others is we do preventative care. And we've really focused on growing that program where we can work with our athletes in a training perspective, or they come to us a lot of times injured from the prior rodeo that they were at. And so in order to get them as safe as they can be so we don't have those injuries out there, because my goal is to never have an injury and to have our team just bored as heck that they didn't have anything to do. But the best way we can do that is by working with them ahead of time. So during the day or before the show, they're getting all taped up, or they're getting therapies. We have chiropractors and physical therapists and orthopedic surgeons and sports medicine docs, a whole team that works with them. Then when they get out there and ride, we have another team at the gate, and we're right there. So if they were to have an injury, especially in some of those rough stock events, we're right there to take care of them and provide them the best in first responder.
I can't imagine the coordination and the infrastructure that I had to go into. And you're the founder of the Sports Medicine Committee.
Well, yes, but it's a team, right? So
I know.
Everything we do is a we out there.
You're very humble.
I had a lot of people that immediately stepped up, and I had some other individuals. Tim Thomas came on as my vice chairman right away, and he became the next chairman. But unbelievable, what he helped me with. So it's a big group, but yes.
Well, I agree with you. It takes a village.
Sure does, and it is a lot. And it was we had a very short time frame to actually get that medical support team together the year that we started this. So
I can imagine, yeah. What partnerships have been really important in providing the people, the equipment, and the services necessary to do exactly what you just described?
So we do have Methodist. So Houston Methodist Hospital is actually our sponsor, and it's our supporter for our sports medicine program and our other health committees. So they provide us the medicines that we need and the equipment that we need and the therapies that we need. And so we do have a partner there, and they've been with us for quite a while. So I think that's really important. But the other thing that we have is we have each other. We have all of our committee people, and as I said, it's a team. And each of us are bringing people from our career positions, and we're bringing in these people that we want to work with, that we know, that we trust, that can provide that health care. We're bringing all them in to work with us and be volunteers as well.
It's that was the first thing I noticed when I got out here, was how, these, tens of thousands of volunteers that make this rodeo work. They have full-time jobs, just like everybody else. And for really the whole year, but definitely for these 20 days in February, March, it's like they gain a second full-time job. You're a testament to that. You came straight here from your job, and you'll be here throughout the evening providing the services and things that are important for the rodeo, and you'll do that almost probably every day. And that's kind of the story with every volunteer. You said 35,000, right?
That's correct.
And it's the thing that I noticed first was the commitment that these volunteers have to the organization, to the event.
It's incredible, and it does double your workload essentially. But what's also is remarkable, if not more, is people take their vacation time, and they take their vacation time to come out here and volunteer. And we all know how precious our vacation time is, to be able to do things that we love and we want to go on a vacation or to go with our family. But there are many volunteers out here that put their time back into rodeo, and they take their vacation.
When others could be gone to the beach for spring break and things.
That's right. And they're here working.
It's awesome. And they're doing it for a really big reason, a big purpose. If we take a step back and just look at the Houston Rodeo, Livestock Show and Rodeo, from a wider angle, what's the number now? It's over $500 million in scholarships that have been given out since the start of the Houston Rodeo.
Yeah, it's over $575 million.
So almost $600 million given back. And I think I was in the stadium, in the arena, the other night, and I heard them say they're expecting over like $28 million just this year alone.
That's correct.
And those dollars go to scholarships for young exhibitors, others that are in. Tell us a little bit about the scholarship program, if you don't mind.
So the exhibitors and the auctions will have another revenue stream.
Okay.
So that's in addition to what you were just saying. But we have scholarships for students going to Texas colleges, and they get a 4-year scholarship. And so that's the majority of what that is out there. We also do grants. And so we have grants that align with the mission and vision of the rodeo. And so it may be a reading program, or it may be something else that goes along with youth and education and agriculture. And we may be giving a grant to them. So that ends up being in the millions as well.
So we can talk about the magnitude of just the events, the athletes, just the sheer number of people, but it's all for a purpose. And that purpose is to provide scholarships to those who might not have an opportunity to go to school themselves otherwise.
That's absolutely true. And I know you like an anecdote. You mentioned that earlier.
Yes, so, I would love you to share one.
Many years ago, when I was out in one of these, a bus ride where we were going to see different Go Texan committees, they're out there being promotional all around Texas, actually. But we were kind of going around outside of Houston, and we met one of our young scholars, and he had finished his first year of school, was doing incredibly. And he told me his story. He was homeless, living in a car with his family. I'm going to get choked up. And we did at the time, because you realize that this kid was not going to school. He's very bright. He was a straight A student in his first year at school. But he told us that that's how he went to college, and without what we did, and this was in 2007 or 8, if I remember. And I've heard similar stories, of course, over the years. But that, to this day, I still remember where I was standing and when the kid told me that story.
Makes it worth it.
It makes it totally worth it.
I've heard similar stories from my father-in-law, who gets to hear some of those things, and makes the 20 days in March worth it. And all the work that goes into it around the year seems small.
Yeah, and you'll hear out here that when people say, how do you keep up with this? And you talk to some of these volunteers that work much harder than I do, and they'll just say it's for the kids. And it's also for our camaraderie.
Yeah, well, there's a great sense of community all around. And, I think some of, the best friends of the people that I know that work the rodeo, some of their best friends have come from this community. So it's a special place. And, I'd like you to just share a little bit. We've talked about healthcare. We've talked about the rodeo. What would the call to action be? For those that might be listening, maybe they're in Houston, but they're close enough to maybe they could contribute to the rodeo. Maybe they're looking for a career. From your experience, from the stories that you've had the pleasure of hearing and being a part of, what would your advice be to those that are listening, maybe looking to connect with something larger than themselves and serve a greater purpose?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of opportunities because we're reaching far and wide right now. So you could look at a position here as a staff member of this amazing organization, right? And work year round and work closely with all the volunteers. And there's opportunity there. It's a big business. So anything you're doing from accounting to marketing to, any of the above, there's the opportunity. As far as volunteering, you can get onto our website and you can look at the list of those 110 committees that we mentioned. And maybe there's a committee that interests you. You join the rodeo and you can put your name on a list to show that you have interest in joining a committee. And if you're in the area close enough that you could do something, I obviously cannot say how strongly that this will benefit you more, probably more than it benefits even the rodeo and the kids, because it's so important. Yeah. But also, if you're further out and you're in other parts of Texas, our Houston Go Texan committees are far-reaching around all the counties around Texas. Okay. So there's events that happen mostly probably starting in the fall and then through the winter, where you can attend these events. Their sales and their parties and their dances, but they're Go Texan events that are out there that are also working towards scholarships for kids. So if you're not near us, there's still opportunity out there in your counties.
Yeah, that's valuable to me. I didn't know about that, so I'll have to look into it. We're down here during spring break as much as we can be, but we're 4.5 hours north in Dallas, and so that's a great way for my family to get involved. Thanks for sharing. If there's one thing that you'd want our listeners to walk away understanding, what would that be? Maybe it's something we've talked about. Maybe it's something we haven't mentioned yet. But what would that one thing be that you would want them to walk away knowing?
Well, I think we touched on a couple of things. Obviously, the passion that we all have to educate our youth and to see that outcome of what we do, I think that's really important. But I think what comes out of this is so fulfilling, from obviously helping our youth and helping raise that money, but it's that community, and we touched on the sense of community we have out here. I've met some of the most amazing people. I have some of the best friendships from 20-some years. Some of these people are family to me now, and yes, we see them at rodeo, but a lot of these guys it's year-round, and to be part of something this big is absolutely incredible. And to come and visit us and see the show is actually pretty fun too. So if you've never been to the rodeo, you need to come on out and to come and see the show and get on the grounds.
I agree. I can't describe it. You have to experience it yourself. And, even if you're a native Texan, you don't know until you know. And there's 20 days in February and March. It's a great opportunity for you to come down and support the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, support some of the awesome exhibitors, and have a lot of fun in the meantime. Kenny Chesney's tonight.
That's right.
Some of the best, like Cody Johnson and Chris Stapleton, are here to finish out the show. And so you'll have a great time. You'll get the sense of community that we're trying to describe. And, we have tens of thousands of volunteers like Dr. Larkin and her team, that if anything were to go wrong with our athletes, with our patrons, with our exhibitors, any of their families, the work has been done and the infrastructure is there to provide the healthcare services and provide the care that they need when they need it the most. And so, Dr. Larkin, I can't thank you enough for what you do here at the rodeo, what you do in healthcare, and for being a part of Highway to Health.
Well, thank you for what you do with Highway to Health. Very impressive.
Well, it's been a blast. Have fun tonight.
Absolutely. You too.
Thanks everybody.